Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Good morning, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, friends. Hello, friends. Hey, friends. Shabbat Shalom, welcome. Glad you're here. We're starting now. Glad you're with us. We want to make sure that everyone in our space has a prayer book. In Hebrew, we call the prayer book a Siddur. And the Siddur should be in your vicinity, and it says the words Mishkan Tefillah on the cover. If you have a book like that near you, will you please raise it high over your head so everyone can see? Oh, look at this in the front. Thank you. Hold it way up so they can see. And make sure the book says Mishkan Tefillah on the cover. Some books say other things. If it says other things, and you need a book that says Mishkan Tefillah, please raise your empty hand so Sarit, our wonderful greeter, can come around and bring a prayer book to anyone who needs. So again, if you have a book that says Mishkan Tefillah, that's great. You can put it down now. Thank you. If you need a book, raise your hand high, and one will be brought to you. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom. Let's try singing these words together. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom. These prayer books, these Siddurim, open from right to left because they're in Hebrew. We open them now to page 192. Page 192, looking in the lower right corner. Some of you might have an enhanced prayer book experience, which means you have two numbers in the lower right corner. We're going to be referring to the numbers in brackets. So look carefully in the lower right corner. If you have two numbers, choose the one in brackets, and that's page 192. Ma tovu, ma tovu. 192, the lower right. Ma tovu, ma tovu, ma tovu alecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael, ma 192, the lower right corner. Matovu, 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 Matovu. Ani berov tastecha Eshtachave el heichal kodshecha be'yiratecha. Ma tovu, ma tovu, ma tovu. Let's try it together. Come on. Ma tovu, ma tovu. That's great. 4 more times, just like that. Ma tovu, ma tovu, ma tovu, 192. Vani tefilati lecha, Adonai et ratzo. Elohim berov chasdecha. Aneni be'emet ishecha. Ma tovu, ma tovu, ma tovu, ma tovu. Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi Colin.
Shabbat Shalom, Cantor Breitzer. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. It's so wonderful to be here together. We want to welcome all of Nina's and Sasha's friends who are sitting here with us. If you are not up here, we invite you to come to the front seats. We want to welcome all of our Yachad families, all of our virtual sanctuary joiners, everyone who is here in person, and our Shabbat regulars. We're so glad to be making community together this morning. We want everybody to feel good and safe and well, and there's a big sanctuary here. So if at any point you feel like you want to spread out, you are welcome to do that. This should be a place that feels like a sacred space where you can focus and be still and find yourself in this space. So what have we come to do here in this space? You've all shown up early on a Saturday morning to be together here on this Shabbat. We know we're here to celebrate an incredible life moment in the Lewin family. And we're also here for Shabbat. We have this amazing day that lends itself to us, that gives us a chance to just put down whatever load we were carrying all week long. The week, it gives us some hard stuff to deal with. It throws a lot of stuff at us, our job, the stress of school, the stress that comes just by being in family together, just the stress of the everyday. But this day gives us a chance to take all of that and just put it down. You don't need it in here. It'll be waiting for you after Shabbat is over. You can pick it back up. You don't need it in here. And so in here, we get a chance to remember the things that are most important. Great, joyous moments. Being together in community with loved ones, friends, family, our health. Now more than ever do we know how important these things are. And maybe in this space, whatever happened in the week that just passed for you, maybe you spoke a harsh word to somebody, or maybe somebody did something that really hurt you. This is a space where we get to welcome a little bit of letting go and a little bit of forgiveness. Because we're hard on ourselves during the week. We're hard on ourselves, and then we're hard on each other, and then we're hard on ourselves for being hard on each other. So forgive yourself sitting here. Whatever happened this past week, see if you can let that go. Forgive someone else. Whatever happened this past week, somebody said something or did something to you, see if you can release that. Just be present here in this space. We have this prayer book in front of us that Cantor Breitzer started to share a little bit about. This is our guide for the morning. You might have 2 numbers on the bottom right of your pages. Any number that the Cantor or I say is going to be the one in the brackets. If you have only 1 number, that's your number. You'll find Hebrew on the right-hand side of the page and English underneath it. That's its direct-ish translation of the prayer that we're reading at that time. And on the other side of the page, you'll find things like poetry, different ways that modern writers have tried to help us understand and get inside or relate to personally whatever is the prayer that we're saying at the time. We welcome you to find your way through this book. Flip the pages, read the parts that you're drawn to, that make meaning for you this morning. We'll invite you to stand and sit and sing. You stand and be and sing in the ways that help you feel like you're really participating here Raise up joy in this room. Sing out loud. It doesn't matter if you can't sing on key. The cantor never worries about how I can't sing on key. We just raise up a joyful noise in this space. And if you come upon a name of some, I don't know, deity, for example, like deity, like God.
Oh.
Like if you come upon the name of God and you think, oh, I don't know that God that they're talking about there. I don't relate to that particular moment or relationship to God in that prayer. We want to invite you to not let God be a barrier between you and praying this morning. If you feel a different connection to the universe, you feel part of something else, and you don't call that thing God, that is all right. This place belongs to all of us this morning. So find something in here, compassion or kindness or love or joy, something that does resonate with you, and pray on. In a moment, we'll turn to a prayer called Asher Yatzar, which is a prayer that just gives thanks that when we woke up this morning, our bodies were functioning. It's so simple that when we got up, we could take a breath in and a breath out, that our bones and our muscles, they all worked as best as they were going to work today. We give thanks for that. And then we'll pray a prayer called Nisim B'chol Yom, which reminds us that everywhere we look are miracles. We miss them all the time. Everywhere we look, that we could stand up, that we could tie our shoes, that we can sit together, that there's tiny baby pigeons, fluffy little pigeons behind the pole out there. I didn't know baby pigeons were cute. I've never called a pigeon cute in my life, but there is a miracle in tiny baby birds outside our door on the top of our stairs, just out there being beautiful. So we'll take in all that is beautiful here this morning as we turn now to Asher Yatzar, which you'll find some in the words on the page and some will be just the words that the cantor teaches us.
194. I thank you for my life, body and soul. Help me realize I am beautiful and whole. I'm perfect the way I am, and a little broken too. I will live each day as a gift I give to you. Oh, can you go with me? I thank you for my life, body and soul. Help me realize I am beautiful and whole. Help me realize I am beautiful and whole. I'm perfect the way I am, and a little broken too. I'm perfect the way I am, and a little broken too. I will live each day as a gift I give to you. I will live each day as a gift I give to you. Oh, 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 oh. A little higher. Oh, and higher still. Oh, the middle of 194. Baruch Baruch atah Adonai, Rofeh kol basar umachli la'asot. Oh, oh, oh. 195. 28. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lasech v'bina lehavchin ben yom u'ben layla. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, pokeach ivri. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, matir asurim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, zokef kefufim. 200. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who stretches the earth over the waters. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who strengthens our steps. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, malbish arumim. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, hanoten laya'ef koach. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who removes sleep from the eyes, slumber from the eyelids. 202. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani b'tselem Elohim. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who has made me free. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who has made me Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who girds Yisrael with strength. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who crowns Yisrael with splendor. We're now going to do something very special, which probably only happens in this synagogue, in this particular way, I dare say, anywhere, which is the following. Everyone is going to be invited to rise at this time, if you're able, and to take your prayer book and to walk forward all the way around this lectern in a 360-degree fashion. So in front of us, to our left, to our right, to our rear, just watch the floral treatments. We're going to continue singing together, and we are going to raise our spirits even higher. Oh. Come forward, come forward. Oh. Be a little nudge if you have to. Oh. Oh, 218, Hallelujah, 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 Hallelujah. Keep moving forward from the back. Hallelujah. Come on. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. There's room for you, I promise. Hallelujah. 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 El Bekocho. Hallelujah. El Bekocho. Hallelujah. Bekiauzo. Hallelujah. Bigburota. Hallelujah. Hallelujah, here we go. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Sing it louder, Sasha. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Get your friends to sing louder too. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Beteka shofar. Hallelujah, beteka shofar. Hallelujah, ben nevel betino. Hallelujah. Hallelujah, minim belga. Clap your hands. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Sing it louder. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Let's hear Tzalei Shama. Hallelujah, let's hear Tzalei Trua. Kol Anshama Te Hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. We can do better. We can do better. Come on. Make the walls resound. Come on, come on. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. That was so good. Rabbi Cohen, I think we should have them stay right here for a while.
I think they should stay right here. And not only stay right here, but that was amazing. That was amazing. You guys did really great with that. Now we're going to just ask you to look at the people around you and wish them a Shabbat Shalom. Say hi to somebody you haven't said hi to yet. And if you are on virtual sanctuary, go ahead into a breakout group for a little while. Say Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thanks for your help. I'm shaking your hand. Yeah.
All right, the thing that's going to happen now is we are going to invite forward Nina and Sasha. You might have to give them a little room to break through, and a little room to break through for the people who are going to be presenting them with their talis, their talit this morning. And the people presenting them with this talit this morning are Sivan Lewin, Ido, and Michal Shapira. And as they make their way forward, what's happening is they're giving them this prayer shawl that they'll wear with them their entire lives through. Today is day one of wrapping themselves in this incredible garment. And the thing about this incredible, beautiful talit that they will both put on is that the thing that matters most, it is full and beautiful, the thing that matters most are these corners. They've got all of these knots on them. These knots, we say, represent all of the things, all of the ways that we understand to live a good life, all of the values, all the commandments and the mitzvot that we're supposed to keep. We look at them and we remember, and they remind us the kind of life we want to live.
So each of you are going to hold on to the talit, and you're going to face this way toward the microphone so we can hear you read the blessing out loud, which is right over here. 1, 2, 3.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu v'hitatef b'tzitzit.
Amen. We remain standing right here and we turn this way toward Yerushalayim, page 224, Chatzi Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabba be'almat yivrach yuteh v'yamlich malchuteh v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei l'chol beit Yisrael b'hagala u'bizman kariv v'yimaru. Amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevarach le'alam u'le'almei halmaya. יתברך וישתבח יפעל ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. 226 ברכו את אדוני המבורך today, you may be seated. Page 228 as we find our way back to our seats. 228. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam yotzeh or uvorech choshech oseh shalom uvorech et hakol. Once again, Baruch, thank you, atah Eloheinu melech haolam yotzeh or uvorech choshech oseh shalom uvorech et hakol. One more time. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam yotzeh or uvorech choshech oseh shalom uvorech et hakol.
Page 229. Together, you are praised, who rolls out the rough, raw clay of the universe into delicate vessels of light. And from nothing at all, we could perceive in a world that has turned old, a shimmering new creation right before our eyes, made this moment just for us. How much of life reveals your presence? How much Torah unfolds from each new flower, from each new wave that breaks upon the sea? You are praised, who forms from the clay that cloaks our lives, the delicate vessels which contain our light. Baruch atah Adonai Yotzer HaMeorot. We'll turn to page 112 to a prayer called Ahava Rabbah.
Could it be page 230 instead?
That's what I meant, 230. Thank you, Cantor. Which is a prayer called Ahava Rabbah, a great, great love, an expansive love. We are a week out from Passover right now, 1 week away. And we imagine what it must have been like to stand on the far side of the sea and to be leaving all that was, the slavery and the oppression and what was hard and tight and constricting, and to make our way across. And we crossed, and we knew where we were coming from, but we had no idea where we were headed. And we crossed, and it was a huge leap of faith to do that. And Ahava Rabbah reminds us of what is God's love language. How does God show God's people and people in the universe, people in general, people at all love? How does God express love? That's by teaching us, by giving us Torah, our values, our stories, the Torah that we go on to pass from generation to generation, like we'll do today, like we do every day. We didn't know where we were going when we crossed the sea, though we knew where we were coming from, and we crossed the sea, and then 3 months later, a long wait, we arrived at a mountain. And that's where we were going. The destination showed itself. We were going to a mountain that revealed itself to be full of love. That's where we got Torah. And so when we pray these words of Ahava Rabbah, we try to feel that moment of receiving Torah flow through us, of having left a place and pointing ourselves towards freedom, but also pointing ourselves towards unbounded love. Page 230.
Shabbat HaGadol, Abu Imotenu, Vat Lamedenu Pukei Chaim, Kein Tekonenu, Telamedenu, Amirachem, Rachem Aleinu, Rachem Aleinu, V'tein belibeinu, להבין ולהשכיל, לשמוע, ללמוד וללמד, לשמור ולעשות, ולקיים את כל דברי תלמוד תורתך באהבה, והאמננו בתורתך, ולהבט דברינו במצוותיך, ויפקד לבבינו, ואהבה ויראה את שמך, ולא נבוש, ולא ניכרם, ולא ניכשל, לעולם ועד, כי בשם קודשך הגדול והנורא בטחנו, נגילה ונשמחה בישועתך. Near the bottom of 230. Ahavienu לשלום בארבע כנפות הארץ, ותוליכנו קוממיות בארצנו. כי אל פועל ישועות אתה, ובנו בחרת, וקרבתנו לשמך הגדול. סלע באמת להודות לך ולייחדך ברוך אתה אדוני הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד. 232. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. 234. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בהם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם המזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אדוני אלוהיכם באמת. I slowed down there at the end. There must have been a good reason for it. And it turns out there is, because those words talk about our exodus from Egypt. And as everyone here, I'm sure, has heard, Passover starts on Friday night. And so as we turn to page 240, we bring in a traditional Passover melody to the words of Mi Chamocha. Mi Chamocha, Ba'elim Adonai, Mi Chamocha, Nedar B'Kodesh, Nora Tehilot, Osei Pelech, Shira Chadasha, Shibehu Geolim, Leshimecha al Sefat Hayam, Yachar Kulam Hodu, Ve'imlichu, Ve'ameru, Adonai Imloch Le'olam Va'ed. We rise if we're able. Zod Yisrael, Kuma Be'ezrat Yisrael, U'b'dei Ne'umecha Yehuda Ve'Yisrael. Go'aleinu Adonai Tzvaot Shemo, Kedosh Yisrael Baruch Ata Adonai Kal Yisrael.
In a moment, we'll turn to page 242 for our Amidah. And we'll begin with a blessing for Avot V'Imahot, our ancestors. And the second blessing we'll find is a blessing called Givurot. And it helps us draw from divine strength It's about strength. It's about the strength to take on and overcome some of the hard things that throw themselves at us in this life. A way to acknowledge that God has strength beyond our strength, can do things we can't do, can change things we can't change, can carry things that are too heavy for us to carry, but we pray it and we pull from it to even intimate the strength that we need, that we might have just a little bit of that strength to live this life and take on the things that come towards us. Page 242, our Amidah.
You face this way. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Yadadai, 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 244, Baruch Atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avoteinu, Ve'imoteinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibor, Ve'hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, Ve'konei HaKol, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. 246, אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו בלי שני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך מנית ומחייך ומצמיח, ישוע ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים. 248, לקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וכרזה אל זה, ואמר קדוש, קדוש, קדוש אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ כבודו. אדיר, אדירנו, אדוני, אדוננו, מאדיר שמך בכל הארץ. ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. אחד הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו מלכנו, מושיענו והוא ישמיענו, ברחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם. אלוהי ציון לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך. Louder. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך. ולנצח נצחים, ולנצח נצחים, קדושתך נקדיש. ושמך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. דור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך. ברוך אתה אדוני האל HaKadosh. We continue silently through page 261, using the words of the pages in between, using the words we find in between parts of ourselves, our very beings. When we've each finished our personal prayers, we may be seated. Page 665, way at the back of your Siddur, way at the bottom of the page, almost buried. You never would have seen it unless you were busy flipping through pages this whole time. There's this tiny little verse lifted up from our Haggadah, and you can see what it means there at the bottom of page 665. It says, in every generation, we must see ourselves as if we personally came out of Egypt. And as Rabbi Cohen was talking about, each of us is coming out of a week that perhaps contained many narrow places, many sources of tension, many stressors. And not just this past week, but perhaps this past month, this past year, these past 2 years. Each of us have arrived, and each of us in some way knows what it's like to feel strain, to feel the pressure as our ancestors did when they crossed over into freedom. And so reminded, not just on Passover, but really every day, that each of us must always see ourselves as someone who came out of Mitzrayim, who came out of a narrow place. Even as we feel the weight of generations that came before us, generations of our ancestors, perhaps this morning generations of a single family in particular. We feel their presence, we feel their blessing, we feel their encouragement and support as we cross over to a new world together. The bottom of 665. חייב אדם לראות את עצמו כאילו יצא ממצרים. בכל דור ודור חייב אדם לראות את עצמו כאילו יצא ממצרים. בכל דור ודור חייב אדם לראות את עצמו כאילו יצא ממצרים. בכל דור ודור חייב אדם לראות את עצמו כאילו יצא ממצרים. Two more times, our voices. כאילו יצא ממצרים. כאילו יצא ממצרים.
Feels redemptive. Feels like we're on our way, Cantor. We have arrived at Seder Kriyat HaTorah, the service for the reading of Torah, and first we will be honored by the words of our president, John Horowitz, to offer us welcome and announcements.
Good morning and Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
On behalf of all the Board of Trustees, I want to welcome everyone here this morning, those of us who are joining in person, as well as all of you who are joining us virtually. A special welcome to Nina and Sasha, all of your family and friends who are joining us, and I want to say Mazel Tov to both of you on such a special day. As always, I want to thank our clergy and our leaders. Thank you, Rabbi Colin. Thank you, Cantor Breitzer, for leading us this morning.
I talked a lot, I'm sorry. I was talking a lot, maybe.
Exactly. I want to thank our Executive Director, Mark Flaxer, and his staff for everything they do for us each and every day to be in community. In addition, our Executive Director, Mark Flaxer, is supporting us here in person, so thank you, Mark. I want to thank Gabby Sevransky, who's providing sound and online support. Thank you, Gabby. In addition, Sari Pesak and Erica Tannenbaum are greeting everyone as they enter the sanctuary, so thank you both. And finally, I want to thank Sasha Lewin for sponsoring today's community kiddush this morning in honor of their Benot Mitzvah. Thank you. As you've heard now a few times, Passover is around the corner, starts Friday night, and we are hosting an engaging and creative community Seder for CBE members in the ballroom on the second night, Saturday night, the 16th. This will be a fully catered dinner, special activity for the kids, and we are inviting our friends at Antioch Baptist Church to join us. If you want to register, it's going to close on Monday the 11th at 5 o'clock, so please make sure you register before then. In addition, to coincide with our Yitzchak observance during Passover, we're going to participate in Requiem, which is a ritualized grief project and community-driven memorial to honor those that have died from COVID-19, as well as to celebrate their lives. We will be holding a compassion drawing event in the sanctuary here following Shabbat services on Friday the 22nd and Saturday, April 23rd. Please stick around for Kiddush, and you can find information about everything I spoke about and everything that we do here at CBE on our website, cbebk.org. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, John, and thank you so much for all of the things you always do to lead our community forward. And so now, we've come to a very special moment in our service, and I'm going to invite up one group of people and invite to be ready to another group of people. And so for coming forward for opening our ark this morning, we will invite Anna and Sarah and Noah Perry and Sam Hasten. And then when we come back down and it's time to take the Torahs around this congregation, we will invite Anna, Sarah, and Noah Perry, Sam Hasten, and Michal Shapira, Lily, June, Monet, Abby, and Eliana. So you are all on the on-deck circle for participation. And it is my honor now to invite again our ark openers and our Benot Mitzvah. Please rise.
Page 362. Ein kamocha Elohim Adonai, ve'ein kema'asecha. Malchutcha malchut kol olamim, u'memishartecha bechol dor v'ador. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai imloch leolam va'ed. Adonai oz le'amo yitein, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom.
בשמיים ובארץ,
הממלכה והעמים נעשה לכל ראש. רוממו, רוממו, רוממו אדוני אלוהינו וישתחוו להר קודשו. רוממו, רוממו, רוממו אדוני אלוהינו וישתחוו. Keep clapping. להר קודשו כי קדוש אדוני. Stay standing, folks. Kika, stay standing, friends. Stay up, stay up. We're still singing. Al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim. Haolam omed, al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim. העולם עומד על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים. על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים. Sasha, Nina, that means acts of loving kindness, which is to tell you right now you can be seated, and everyone else as well.
We've come now to the chanting of Torah. We're in Parshat Mitzvah. If you want to follow along all that's about to happen, you can do so in a book called The Torah. It'll be right in front of you, in the pew in front of you. And you can follow along on page 752, 754, 756. And that's Leviticus chapter 14, beginning with Verse 1. For our first aliyah, our Ba'alat Kriya is Fiona Overcamp. Will be chanting Torah for us this morning. We invite you forward. And for our aliyah, for the honor of the blessings before and after Torah, we want to invite forward, if you are leading a Seder this year, if you are hosting, you're going to have some people in your home. We want to invite you forward for Aliyah.
יעמדו כל המשוזמים האחרים לסעודת ליל הסדר, עלייה לתורה.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך, ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד, ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר בחר בנו מכל העמים, ונתן לנו את תורתו, ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
וידבר אדוני אל משה לאמור, זאת תהיה תורת המצורע ביום תורתו, והובא אל הכהן, ויצא הכהן אל מחוץ למחנה, וראה הכהן, והנה נרפא נגע הצרעת מן הצרוע, וטיבע הכהן ולקה למטחר, שתי צברים היו טהרות, ועת ארז ונהי תולעת וזוב.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת, וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו, ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen. Mishaberach Avotenu Vimotenu. God, may God, who has blessed those who came before us, bless each one of you as you sit, as you take up that seat at the head of a table. After so many years now, it feels like forever that we've been able to gather with our families and our loved ones and our friends May your tables be open to guests and friends and strangers. May your seders bring meaning to your family. And may this new moment truly be a new moment and a next step and a next chapter in our lives as we return Pesach into, many of us, into our homes. We are so grateful for your leadership. May your seders be truly beautiful moments of spring, newness, and redemption. Amen. For the second Aliyah, we call forward for chanting Ido Shapira, and for Aliyah, Carmel Lewin, Elliot Perry, and Noah Perry, and Aya Dopkin.
Yamdu kol el aliyah Torah. But first they're going to...
Adonai, Hamavorach.
Ruach Adonai mevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai, Mevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai, noten ha'torah.
ולקח הכהן את כבש האשם ואת לוג השמן, והניף אותם הכהן תנופה לפני אדוני. ושחט את כבש האשם, ולקח הכהן מדם האשם, ונתן על תנוך אוזן המטהר הימנית, ועל בוין ידו הימנית, ועל בוין רגלו הימנית. ומן השמן יצוק הכהן על כף הכהן השמאלית.
אשר נתן לנו תורה ותמת, וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, נותן התורה.
Amen. Yashkoch. Our third Aliyah, our reader is Sasha Lewin. And our Aliyah, for Aliyah we invite Sivan and Annette Lewin, Jerry and Eric Hasten.
Yamdu kol el aliyah Torah.
Baruch et Adonai Hambarach. Baruch Adonai Hambarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen. Vehizah hakohen betabo hayamanit min hashemen asher akapo hasemalit sheva pemim lifnei Adonai. Venatan hakohen min hashemen asher akapo al tanuch ozen hamitaher hayamanit V'albohen yado hayamanit, v'albohen reglo hayamanit, amakam dam ha'asham, v'hanotar min hashemen asher akaf hakohen yiten arosh hamitaher leheper alav lifnei Adonai.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam notah b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten ha'torah.
Amen. We invite you to come around to this side and stand right next to Sasha on her left as we prepare to call her to Torah as a bat mitzvah by her Hebrew name, which she was just formally given a few days ago. Tamor, 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 abchura bat mitzvah, Sara bat Sivan l'aliyah Torah, chizki ve'imtzi.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai mevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bahar banu mikol hamim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai, naten haTorah. V'asa et echad min hatorim, o min b'nei hayonah, me'asher tasig yado, et asher tasig yado, et echad hatat, ve'echad olah al-hamnicha, ve'hiper hakohen al-hamiteher lifnei Adonai. Zot Torat asher bo nega savat, asher lo tasig yado betorachato. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'hayei olah nata betohenu. Baruch atah Adonai, naten haTorah.
Amen. Yasher koach. You can all have a seat.
We take just a moment now in the midst of reading of Torah, with the open Torah before us, to offer a prayer for healing, for wholeness, especially in this prayer, in this Torah portion. In this Torah portion that deals with sickness. We know that when we are feeling less whole, what we need is healing. We need our friends and our family around us. We need to know that we're not walking this path of hurt or brokenness by ourselves. So I want to invite you to think about who in your life is feeling sick, who is sick either with a sickness of their body, where they wake up and they feel achy or it hurts, or maybe they're feeling lonely or alone or lost, or maybe it's someone you're thinking about is in a difficult relationship. The rains of healing are coming down, Cantor. Or maybe it's somebody in your life who's facing addiction or some other thing that is making them feel pain and suffering right now. I want to invite you to say aloud the names that you're thinking about, and if you're joining us virtually, I want to invite you to place the names in this chat, and of course we add to those that we're thinking about all of those in Ukraine who are suffering in this scary time for them. We invite your names.
Page 371 in your prayer book. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
For our fifth Aliyah, we call forward for chanting Amit Dar, and for Aliyah, Ruth Owadis, David and Merrill Waits.
Yamdu la Torah. We're fast forwarding in our Torah portion. But would you mind reading that second page number? Or maybe the third page number now, actually.
It's page 756.
So before you make the blessing, we want to just make sure that we find the exact right spot for Amit to start it. Just 1 second, please. So they're going to make the blessing and then go after it. Baruch Adonai Mevarach Leolam Vahed.
Baruch Adonai Mevarach Leolam Vaed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
ואם בו יבוא הכהן וראה והנה לא פשע הנגע בבית אחרי היטוח את הבית וטיהר הכהן את הבית כי נרפא הנגע ולקח לחטא את הבית 2 ציפורים ועץ ארז ו2 תולעת ואזוב ושחט את הציפור האחת אל כלי חרס על מים חיים ולקח את עץ הארז ואת האזוב
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natan betocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yeshkach. We'll call for our sixth Aliyah for chanting Nina Lewin, and for Aliyah, the blessings Sivan and Annette Lewin, Kim Husky, and Gary Maurer.
Yamdu kol el Aliyah la Torah.
Welcome back.
Should I hold this or you? No, you hold it. I'm going to drop it. Oh, I forgot my glasses. Sorry.
Clarity in these moments is so important. There you go.
To hot mic either. Baruch et Adonai Hamvarach. Baruch Adonai Hamvarach leolam vaed. Baruch et Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch et Adonai noten haTorah.
ולקח את עץ הארז ואת האזוב ואת שני הזולת ואת הציפור החיה וטבל אותם בדם הציפור חשוטה ובמים החיים והיזה אל הבית 7 פעמים, והיטה את הבית בדם הציפור ובמים החיים, ובציפור החיה, ובית הארז, ובאזוב, ובשני התולעת, ושילה את הציפור החיה אל מחוץ לעיר על פני השדה וכיפר על הבית ויטהר.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chaye olam nota b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen. And again, please move over here to Nina's left as she is about to be called to the Torah as a bat mitzvah by her newly minted Hebrew name. Tamor, 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 Abchora bat mitzvah, Yonina bat Sivan, Lalia la Torah, Chizki veimsi.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai mevorach leolam vaed.
Baruch Adonai hamvorach leolam vaed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Zot haTorah l'hol nega hatzarat v'lanatek. Ultzara'at ha'beged v'labayit v'lasef v'lasapachat v'labeharet l'chorot v'yom hatamei uvyom hatahor zot Torat hatzarat. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chaye olam natan batohenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Yasher koach. We call now for the honors of Hagba and Galila. For Hagba is Rabbi David Adelson, and for Galila, Merrill and David Waits and Elias Waits to help us dress the Torah. Please rise.
Page 370. Vezot haTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai beyad Moshe. Get ready to clap. Torah, 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 Torah. Tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Torah. Tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Torah. Tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Torah. Tziva lanu Moshe. Morasha kehilat Yaakov. Morasha kehilat Yaakov. Morasha kehilat Yaakov. Torah tziva lanu Moshe. Simcha raba, simcha raba. Aviv higia Pesach ba, simcha raba, simcha raba. Aviv higia Pesach ba. Taveru, taveru, taveru li bekerim kisvim mileu, mileu, mileu kisai ve'egozim ki raba, simcha raba. Aviv higia Pesach ba, simcha raba, simcha raba. Aviv higia Pesach ba.
Please be seated. We move now to the chanting of Haftarah, and then we will hear the words of Nina and Sasha's Divrei Torah, how they're going to teach us. As we hear their chanting of the Haftarah, what's happening here is the rabbis later on looked at Torah and said, there's so much to learn from this. How can we attach parts of the book of prophets to each Torah portion to help make further meaning? And then that's exactly what Nina and Sasha are going to do with their own words, make further and deeper, relevant, modern meanings out of this Torah portion. As they finish their closing blessing, these are very important instructions. As they finish the closing blessing of their Haftarah chanting, we will shower them gently, underhandedly shower them gently with sweetness so we don't injure someone on the day of their bat mitzvah.
And this particular day, Rabbi Colin, is not just any Shabbat, not just because it's their Benon Mitzvah, but as we know now, it's the Shabbat just before Pesach, which has a special name. It's actually on the front of your brochure. Did anyone see what its particular Shabbat is called?
Shabbat Katan?
It's not Shabbat Katan. It's on the front of your pamphlet. What does it say, Fiona? Shabbat HaGadol. So is that a little Shabbat or a big Shabbat? It's a big Shabbat, and so because it's such a big Shabbat, there's actually a special Haftarah reading from the prophet Malachi that features one of the all-time biggest, hugest, greatest Jewish superheroes of all time. Listen for his name. I bet you can figure it out.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar b'nvi'im tovim v'ratzav v'divreihem hane'emarim be'emet Baruch atah Adonai haboher b'Torah u'Moshe avdo u'Yisrael amo u'b'nvi'ei hamet v'tzedek ki hinei hayom bach boer katanor v'kayu chol zedim b'chol osei risha kash v'lihot otam hayom haba amar Adonai Tavaot asher lo yazov lahem sheresh v'anaf v'zarcha lahem yirei shami shemesh tzedakah u'marpeh bichnafecha v'tzatem ufishtem keglei marbek v'asotem rashaim ki hiyu efer tachat kapot raglehem bayom asher ani oseh amar Adonai Tzevaot. Zichru Torah Moshe Avdi Asher Saviti Oto Vechorav Al Kol Yisrael Hukim Umishpatim Hinei Anohi Shaleach Lahem Et Elia Hanavi Livnei Bo Yom Adonai Hagadol Vehanora Veheshiv Levavot Al Banim Velev Banim Al Avotam Pen Avo Veheketi Et Haaretz Herem Hinei Anohi Shaleach Lahem Et Elia Hanavi Livnei Bo Yom Adonai Hagadol Vehanora Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Sor Kol Halamim Tzadik B'Hol Hadorot Ha'el HaNe'eman Ha'omer Ve'aseh Ha'medaber U'Kayem Shechol Davara Emet V'Tzedek Al HaTorah Ve'al Avodah Ve'al HaNevi'im Ve'al Yom HaShabbat Hazeh Shenatata Lanu Adonai Eloheinu L'Kedusha V'Linucha Le'Havod U'Latifaret Al HaKol Adonai Eloheinu Anachnu Modim La Uvrochim Atah Yitbarach Shemha Befi Kol Hai Tamid Le'Olam Va'ed Baruch Atah Adonai V'Kadesh HaShabbat
Amen. Siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov, siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov, siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov. Yeheilanu. Pick it all up, pick it up. Yeheilanu, yeheilanu. Oh, watch the floral treatment. Yeheilanu, yeheilanu. Oh, lecho Yisrael. Yeheilanu, yeheilanu. Lecho Yisrael, Yeheilanu, Yeheilanu, Lecho Yisrael. Clap your hands. Siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov, siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov, siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov, Yeheilanu. That shower of sweetness couldn't have come at a better time. Because if you are a Yachad family in 3rd, 4th, 5th, or 6th grade, you are invited to bring your grown-ups and kids down to the rotunda for our Yachad Passover family workshop. So please make your way out the front door, the side door. Emily has specific instructions. Thank you so
Hello.
much, Emily. I was about to incite a mass exodus.
Shabbat Shalom! Okay, I have some specific instructions for where to go downstairs for all of our Yachad families. Today we're so excited to invite parents and families to our Yachad Passover stations today. Once you get downstairs, you'll be able to roam around freely throughout the stations, but we have some assignments for where to go first, just so you can get an overview in an organized, hopefully, way. So third grade families are going to start by following Alice. Alice is waving her hand in the back. Third grade families are going to head down to room Zion. If you have siblings in multiple grades, you can just pick one to start. Fourth grade families are going to follow Ellie and Jess, waving their hands to rooms Vav and Gimel. So if you're in third or fourth grade, you can head over to them now. Fifth and sixth grade are going to gather at the back door. Fifth graders are going to follow Judy. Judy's going to make her way to the back door over here. And you're going to go to rooms Dalet and Hay. And then finally, Abby in the red dress, waving her arms, is going to lead sixth graders and their families to rooms Aleph and Bet. If you forget where you were told to go, come find one of us. We all have instructions.
Thank you, Emily. And there's a lot more Torah to be had in this room. So if you are not in Yachad, stay right here. And we'll invite forward Sasha and Nina to offer their Devar Torah, their own teaching about this Torah portion. Sasha will begin.
Hi. Who here has had COVID? When I was thinking about what to write for my Devar Torah, I was thinking about COVID because my parsha is about a disease called tzara. It describes the rules and rituals for purifying someone after they had tzara. Tzara was a skin disease that could take in many different forms, but generally it was a skin disease, probably leprosy. It could also manifest itself on one's clothing, belongings, and house. Tzara spread just as quickly as COVID does. My question, and maybe your question too, is how did they know a person had tzara and what did they do? In an article by David Ackerman, he says the Kohen or the priest examines the person, tests, to determine if it is indeed tzara. To summarize, if a person was feeling ill, the priest would come to the person and determine if it was tzara or not. If the priest found that the person was indeed sick, positive test, this would result in 2 weeks of isolation from the community, quarantine. After the 2-week quarantine, the priest would revisit the person to re-examine, retest. Only when the priest was satisfied that the tzara is finally healed, the person may rejoin the community, come out of quarantine. As we can see, the priest acts like they are the COVID test and determines whether the person is sick or not. Some people may be wondering, why does the priest act as a doctor? And why not a doctor determine if somebody is sick? Sforno, an Italian commentator and politician, does have one reason why the priest makes the diagnosis rather than a doctor. It is because the priest has expertise over a long career of examining individuals with these symptoms. As I mentioned earlier, if you did have tzara, you'd have to quarantine. In my parsha, there are rules and rituals for cleansing yourself after having had tzara. The ritual was the person had to shave off all their hair, wash their clothes, and bathe in water. Once they had done that, they had to bring 2 lambs and some flour and oil to the priest to make an offering. If you did not have the money for 2 lambs, you could also bring 2 pigeons. This is how a person would cleanse himself after having tzara. Last December, I tested positive for COVID. Luckily, I wasn't very sick, but it was still hard to be isolated in your room with no interaction with the outside world. As hard as that might have been mentally, I can't compare it to the people that were in a hospital bed breathing through a ventilator with no family around them. I can't help but to think how people would feel if they got tzara way back in time. Rabbi Mike Rothbam, when a person, Adam, has tzara on the skin, notice the first word, Adam. In a discussion of physical condition, the Torah starts by spotlighting a crucially important moral point. There is a person involved. Don't forget the humanity and divinity behind the pathology. We're in a time where it's easy to forget humanity. Front pages of newspapers and websites alike feature graphs with dates and numbers. As scary as the numbers are, they keep us at a distance from the reality of sickness and death. But here the Torah is teaching us to focus on the people around us, and that a sickness is also the person, not just the disease. The Lubavitcher Rebbe, who is considered one of the most influential Jewish leaders of the 20th century, adds another reason. The Kohen is a descendant of Aaron, a disciple of peace, someone who blesses the people of Israel with love. If a harsh decree is necessary, it needs to be delivered with love so it can be both absorbed and observed. This is important because during COVID, if somebody was extremely sick with COVID and on a ventilator, the doctors and nurses around them had to treat them with love and respect as well as their family. Because of how much COVID impacted my life and others around me too, I wanted to do something to help others. The war in Ukraine. I decided that I needed to help out the refugees in Ukraine. On Fridays at 4, I would head down to our own synagogue and help pack cars full of medical items, baby products, and feminine products that you all donated. The items are sent to the Polish borders to help out people who have fled their homes in Ukraine. I encourage you to help out at Fridays at 4 to pack the cars or donate medical items, diapers, and feminine products to CBE. I think what I can take away from my parsha is that pandemics and worldwide sicknesses aren't just a disease, but a realizing point, a changing point mentally. I have seen so many people change because they've become more stronger and more resilient. Shabbat Shalom.
Beautiful. And we'll now invite Nina Lewin to offer her words of Torah. Those two pigeons that you just talked about are getting really wet out there.
Hi. Hey. For the past 2 years, we've all had our lives affected by COVID. Most of us had to quarantine because of COVID. The first part of my parsha is about the rituals that needed to be performed after a person had a disease called Metzora or Tzorat. It's described as a skin disease that today we would most likely call leprosy. The next section is about a different kind of Metzora that could affect a house. The house could get red or green streaks on the stones that was probably mold. First, the owner would have to empty everything out of the house so the priest could inspect inside. If the priest found the mold, then the priest would close up the house for 7 days. If the streaks were there after that, the affected stones would be removed and replaced with new ones. If the Metzora came back again, the priest would determine that the house was impure and the whole house would be demolished. I wondered why the people would quarantine or destroy their house and how they would do that. One source I looked at was Midrash Rabbah, which was compiled in the 16th century, which offered me some answers. It talks about a man who asked his friend to lend him some wheat, barley, and dates. The friend says he doesn't have any, even though he does. A similar occurrence happens with a woman when she asks for a sieve. When God sees this happening, God decides that those people should be punished, so God gives them Metzora. The priest makes them take all their belongings out of their home. The whole community sees they have lied. God is using Metzora to punish people who have lied. This offers a good explanation for the houses that are quarantined and knocked down in my parsha, but it doesn't completely cover the skin disease issue. Tractate Erechim from the Talmud, which was written around the 5th century, offers an answer to this question. It says, what is the meaning of the verse, this shall be the law of Metzora? It means, this shall be the law for him who is Motzi Shem Ra, gives a bad name through slander. In other words, it says the word Metzora stands for Motzi Shem Ra, which translates to give a bad name, meaning gossiping about or being rude to others. I think that this interpretation is almost like God is saying that if you're not kind, there will be consequences. I noticed when I was reading this quote, I was thinking about how when I was little, my mom would tell me that if I didn't brush my teeth, they would all fall out. I related this to the quote because both things have to do with someone telling another person if they don't do something, there will be a consequence. Rashi, a French rabbi from the 11th century, also talks about slander and how you can get Mitzvah from being rude or mean to someone else. He says, the person who slandered against someone else sits alone because his words damaged relationships, friendships, or families and caused others to be alone. I think this means that if someone does something bad, it's sort of like you should be punished in the same way. For example, if you hurt someone's feelings and made them feel alone, you deserve to be alone too. A question that came to mind for me is, what if someone didn't mean to hurt another person? What if they're the most amazing person in the world, but they made a mistake and they were punished? What if they knew what they did was wrong? I think the problem with this interpretation is the way it deals with people who have slandered. Sometimes there are people who are truly mean, and then there are people who just made a mistake. I think that every situation is different, and no one can be the perfect person. Everyone makes mistakes. That's what makes us human. In conclusion, I think my parsha could be looked at in many different ways. I don't agree with all the things it says, but through my studies, I have a better understanding of the intent. I think my parsha is trying to put a rule in the world so everyone learns to be kind to one another. Although I think I would have done it in a different way. I hope everyone has learned not to slander, otherwise you might get Metzora. Shabbat Shalom.
Nina and Sasha, those were beautiful Divrei Torah. You chanted beautifully here this morning. You shared your Haftarah beautifully here this morning, and you taught us powerfully with important words and important lessons. And it is not easy to draw such deep meaning from Torah. In general, it takes a lot of skill, but especially in this space of Parshat Metzora, which is primarily about a not that delightful skin disease. You inspired us with the way you dug so deep to find the meaning that's going to matter to you and keep making Torah relevant for our day. Nina, we heard you say that how we treat one another matters, that it has real consequences for our relationships and for our health, both physical and mental. The idea that if we make someone else feel alone through gossip or words, that we ourselves come to feel alone, this is a really compelling read of our tradition. How we treat each other matters, and there are real consequences for our choices. And Sasha, in so many ways, even leading up to this, I've heard you talk about how we treat ourselves also matters, that it also has consequences for our relationships and for our mental and physical health. You talked about how quarantine can be a time to grow and heal, to reflect and become who we are meant to become. This is such an important way of understanding quarantine, a challenging experience at best. But how we treat ourselves, even in the most difficult of moments, and how we invest in ourselves matters, and it changes us. And then, as you know and spoke about, Parshat Metzora does not just talk about this tzara'at of the skin, but it also discusses a tzara'at that can appear in our homes. And it turns out that how we treat our homes also matters and also has real consequences for our relationships and for our health and more. And I want to talk about that a little bit this morning. So what's this thing that happens with our homes in Parshat Metzora? As we heard a little bit about this morning already, the text says that if you find a plague-like thing in your home, you're supposed to go and tell the priest, and they are supposed to then come and check it. And if the priest notes reddish or greenish streaks going deep into the walls, he shutters it for 7 days. No one goes in or out. In 7 days, he comes back. If it has grown, then it means that they need to take the affected rocks or bricks out, replace them with new rocks or bricks, and then replaster the walls. Then he'll shutter the house again. If when he comes back the third time, the tzara'at has continued to grow, even though they took out all the bad parts, Then they have to raze the whole house to the ground, take it apart completely, and rebuild on the foundation. And there are a lot of commentators who come to try to explain what all this is about. Why would a house, a home, get a plague? So before I wander down this particular path, I want to share with you an important caveat. Some people believe that bad things happen or people get sick as divine punishment, that getting sick is punishment from God for sinning. I don't believe that. We are not required to believe that. We can believe lots of different things about that. I believe that sometimes people just get sick, and our job is to care for one another when that happens, but not to blame them or even to see it as punishment. That said, you both wisely mentioned in your Divrei Torah that sometimes there are, in fact, very real consequences to the choices that we make and how we treat ourselves and how we treat others. And some of those consequences, our text teaches us, might even affect our homes. The Kli Yakar, which is a commentary written by Rabbi Shlomo Ephraim in the early 1600s, says that a house may develop tzara'at because of how the owner of the house acts. Not unlike the cracking and breaking of casita in Encanto, a certain orientation to others will begin to weaken the foundation, and it'll make the house begin to crumble. The Kli Yakar teaches that if a person believes that all of what they have, their house, their food, their wealth, their stuff, that all of it has come to them because they are so great, because of their own power and worthiness, then the foundation that they call their home will begin to break. See, the Kli Yakar wants its reader to remember that all of our blessings actually belong to God, and we've just borrowed them. Therefore, the text goes on to say, if we forget this and we say, all of this is mine, 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 I can do with it whatever I want, our house, the place that we live in, will begin to rebel, to break down. Whew. So this commentator sees that that orientation to the world, believing that we have unlimited power and unlimited ownership, as a sickness of the very home the person claims to have power over. So it is with our earth today, our home, this home that we all share, the planet that houses us. We have somehow collectively developed this same sickness, this orientation to the planet, that we own this. This is ours, and we could do whatever we want with it. The Kli Yakar would say, quick, call the priest, check the walls. And I don't have to tell you, if we check our home, our earth, to see if it's doing okay, we're going to find greenish and reddish streaks. We find melting glaciers and wild winds and fires. We find the heat is turned up too high. We find that there are people who have plenty and people who have none, facing famines and droughts. The priest would surely come and say, okay, let's shut it down for 7 days and let's see what happens. And if it got worse, he would come back and say, okay, let's take out the parts that are making it weak, right? Let's make some real changes here and see if we can disrupt the sickening of this home, this planet. And then he'd shutter it again and come back one last time to see if it can be salvaged, to see if our changes have saved the edifice or if it was beyond repair. Sasha and Nina, of those 3 checks, we are on check number 2. Our scientist priests have seen what they understand to be a sickness in our walls, our waters, our air. And they've raised the warning flags, and lots of people have gotten to work to try to disrupt the plague before it gets too far. And we know that check number 2 is not done yet. If we let this go on, our scientist priests will come and they'll make the 3rd check. Now with a building, it's surely sad when it's so bad that nothing can be salvaged and it's got to be razed to the ground. But the planet, that is not an option. We know that. There's a beautiful and ancient text from Kohelet Rabbah that envisions God taking Adam and Eve around the garden on the 6th day of creation. And God says to them, "Look how wondrous is my creation. Don't destroy it, because if you destroy it, there will be no one to come after you to repair it." It's a text that could have been written yesterday, but it's around 1,500 years old. We see the same concern that people will believe that because we can, we should. Even the ancient rabbis could see the problem with human beings exercising unchecked power on this earth, potentially destroying it beyond repair. But we are not at that moment. We are at science priest check number 2, and we are still able to heal this house. In the book of Genesis, human beings are charged la'ovda ul shomra, to serve and guard the earth. Because we are powerful. We are so powerful that we were given the job of protecting our home. You know, April this month is Earth Month. There used to just be Earth Day, but it's become more urgent that we pay attention, and so it's been expanded to a month. And so many people are hard at work to make the changes that we know need to be made. Because we look at the two of you, and we look at your gorgeous friends, and we know that you're counting on us. In fact, CBE is getting involved in this work to protect our planet, to figure out how we can make a difference. The same way you talked about Ukraine, we're going to put our power behind making a difference in climate. And we have learned that recycling, composting, and decreasing our own carbon footprints, these are all great things, but they are not enough to save this home. We've got to remove the rocks and the bricks that are poisoning the house by making changes to the system, changing laws, investing in green alternatives and technology, and leaving fossil fuels in the ground. The changes we need to make are not small. They are part of the house itself. And while it won't be easy to do, we are protectors of the earth. And we hope that you'll do this with us. And we know that it is your generation that is leading around climate and climate justice. And we are ready to follow you and to stand shoulder to shoulder with you until our house is healthy again. We are so proud of what you have done today, Sasha and Nina. And we look forward to every moment of what you will do in the years ahead of you as part of this community, as part of the Jewish people, now as adults in the eyes of the Jewish people. We are so grateful to celebrate with you today. Mazel tov on this great day. And now we will get to put the Torah back into the ark. And as we do that, we're going to invite Nina and Sasha forward for blessing. I know that I'm not the only person who came into this room with blessings to offer them, though. So as we're up there, we invite you to take all the blessings that you have in your heart for them and just point them directly at these young women. Just create like a vortex of blessing in this whole sanctuary, and let's feel the energy coming towards them as we wish them so many blessings on this day. We invite you now to please rise.
Page 374. Natati lachem Torati al tazovu eitz chaim lama chazikim bach v'tomechea me'usha derachea darchei noam v'chonei נתיבותיה. שלום, השיבנו אדוני אליך ונשובה. חדש ימינו כקדם. We remain standing, page 586 at the bottom. Aleinu l'shabeach. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol. לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. 589. Get ready to clap some more. על כן נקווה לך, על כן נקווה לך, על כן נקווה לך, אדוני אלוהינו, כן נקווה לך, על כן נקווה לך, על כן נקווה לך, אדוני אלוהינו. לראות מהרה בתפארת עוזך, ותקן עולם. לראות מהרה בתפארת עוזך, במלכות שדי. שרנדרדרדרדאי, אנדרדרדרדאי, אנדרדרדרדאי, שרנדרדרדרדאי, אנדרדרדרדאי, אנדרדרדרדאי. 591. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד, ושמו אחד. Please be seated.
At the end of each prayer service, we always turn towards memory to bring into this space all of those who, we so wish were here. We so wish they were physically here, but we know that they are here in our hearts, that they walk with us, that they still shape us. Anybody that we've lost, that they stay with us, and that our remembering them brings them into this space. And so if you are remembering someone, if you're in the period of Shiva, of the first 7 days of your loss, we want to invite you to rise and share their name with us. If this is a period of Shloshim for you, the first 30 days after their death, we want to invite you also to rise and share their name. If this is, and we'll just ask you to stay standing if you're comfortable, if this is the first year of your loss, we invite you to rise and share their name. And if you are here to observe a yahrzeit, the anniversary of a death, we invite you to rise and share their name as well. And now we rise to surround you. In a moment, we'll turn to page 598 for Kaddish Yatom. And we in this community are remembering those who were killed in terror attack in Tel Aviv this week, Barak Lufen, Eitam Magini, and Tomer Morad. And we are remembering in their period of Shloshim, Stanley Fertig, father of Ira Fertig, father-in-law of Kate Whittles, and grandfather of Daniel and Maya, Wanda Quitana Herskowitz, the wife of Michael Herskowitz and mother of Julianne and Annalise, Judith Parker, our member and wife of Stuart Parker and mother of Sarah Green and Ned Parker, Cecile Brewer, grandmother of Talia Kovacs, Bernard Jeffrey, father of Peter and Nancy Jeffrey, father-in-law of Carla Weiss and Daniel Cohen, and grandfather of Kate, Alana, and Jessica. The Lewin family is remembering on this special day Roni Lewin, Arnold Perry, David Dabkin, Ariel Abadi, and we are remembering the yahrzeits of this community. Jesse Barr, Philip Bardfeld, Murray Becker, Abraham Bender, Eleanor Brigida Miel, Julio Blumenkrantz, Abigail Brom, Robert Weller, Donna Custom, Bertha Krausman, Jeffrey Cummins, Rachel Davidson, Sylvia Davidson, Margaret DeCalandria, Charles Dorff, Ernestine Dressler, Max Epstein, Lenore Finkelstein, Barnett Flax, Isaac Leon, Buddy Freed, Jacob Freeman, Rose Freeman, Andy Fusco, Alvin Galpert, Deborah Georgianis, Edna Mae Gertler, Benjamin Gilson, Celia Glicken, Max Grittelfeld, Herman Handelman, Emil Heimberger, James Raymond Holly, Louis Jacobs, Sandra Lynn Kay, Rosie Kellner, Alexandra Klein, Bernard Philip Lampert, I. Wallace Liebner, Edward Leopold, Vera Levy, Jacob Levy, Gertrude Leaf, Emil Lowenthal, Hyman London, Rose Mateo, Margaret Willowdean McConnell Julius, Stanley Miles, Nina Mindlin, Ruth Bott Minkin, Natalie Meyer, Julia Newberger, Sabina Obstfeld, Israel Pizetzner, Henry Rockmore, Beatrice Rosenblum, Hilly Rosenblum, Matthias Rosenkrantz, Lena Runsdorf, Ken Safian, Evelyn Sanders, David Schwartz, Sarah Shore, Barbara Seidman Burke, Joshua Singer, Jerome Stein, Norman Stillman, Phyllis Stillman, Larry Stoller, Nathan Strauss, Arthur Strauss, Tessie Tuck, Francis Wasserman, Lena Weintraub, Milton Wolfe. May their memories bring us blessing. Page 598, Kaddish Yatom. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. V'yamad yivarach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei. V'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael. Bagala uvizman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olomei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemed kudashat b'rechu. Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata. tushbechata v'nechemata, da'miran bi'alma v'imru, amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru, amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to all who mourn. We say together, amen.
Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru, amen. Oseh shalom, Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru, amen. Clap your hands again. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru, amen. Ya la 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 la, let's hear you go. Yeah. Come on, louder. La 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 la, come on, Sivan. Ya la 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 la, ya 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 ya, ya la 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 la, la 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 la, ve'imru, amen. Ve'imru, amen.
We want to wish everybody a Shabbat Shalom. If you're joining us on Facebook Live, have a wonderful rest of your Shabbat and weekend. If you're joining us on Zoom, you can hang out right here and unmute yourself and schmooze with each other in just a moment. And if you are right here, we're going to invite you this direction to Kiddush and Motzi so that we can leave this space with sweetness in our mouths. Shabbat Shalom.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת